All right, so today we're going to be taking a deep dive into the world of author scams.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, specifically we're looking at this potential scam called BookGuard.
Right.
And our main source material for this is going to be a blog post from Writer Beware,
Right.
which, if you don't know, is a website that helps writers avoid scams.
Yeah.
So it's the perfect source for what we're going to be looking at.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, these scams are more common
Oh, yeah.
than you might think.
Yeah,
So anyone involved with writing or publishing should be paying attention.
for sure. And BookGuard, it seems like it has all the hallmarks of a scam.
Uh-huh.
We've got fake staff photos, a very suspicious Wyoming address.
Oh, yeah.
And this weird monthly fee that just makes you want to run away. But the thing that really caught my eye with this one, and I think it caught your eye too, was the subject line of the email they use.
Yeah, what was it?
It was, "Author got scammed, you are next."
Oh, wow.
I mean, come on.
That's bold.
You've got to click on that, right?
I know they're really trying to play on your fear.
Yeah.
Right. They know authors are already worried about getting scammed.
Right.
So they use that against you. That's anxiety.
It's kind of brilliant in a messed up way, right?
Totally.
Because you're already on edge, and then you get this email.
And it just confirms your worst fears.
Exactly. So you click through, you're maybe a little panicked,
Oh, yeah.
and you land on their website, and
Yeah.
it's like, at first glance, pretty legit looking.
Oh, really?
They talk about a research team, fraud analysis, writing insurance.
Oh, wow.
They even offer global monitoring.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That sounds pretty impressive.
Yeah, very impressive.
At first.
Until you start digging a little deeper.
Yeah, because then what?
Then you realize there's really no substance. Like, they don't explain how any of these services actually work.
Right.
There are no success stories.
Oh, that's
There are no testimonials
Yeah.
from authors that they've supposedly helped.
makes you wonder,
And the website itself just looks very,
like slapped together.
yeah, like it was made in an afternoon.
Not a good look.
Not a good look. And then it gets even better because they have this whole thing about fake staff photos.
What?
So they have this head of research guy.
Okay.
His name's Tyrese Camp.
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly, he's this expert in fraud, right?
Right.
But his photo is a stock image.
Oh, no way.
You can find it all over the internet.
Are you serious?
Dead serious.
Wow. The audacity.
It's amazing. I mean, like,
Yeah, you think a company that's claiming to protect you from scams
right.
would at least be a little more careful with their own image.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
this is just so sloppy.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're not even trying to hide it.
No, they're not.
Oh, wow.
And then we get to the Wyoming address.
Okay, so what about their address?
I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that, because I have a feeling there's something fishy there.
Oh, yeah. Wyoming's basically a magnet for shady businesses. Yeah, they have super lax laws, low filing fees,
Ruh.
and it attracts a certain type of entrepreneur.
Okay, I see.
And surprise, surprise, BookGuard's address is actually a virtual one.
Ah,
It's shared by hundreds of other companies.
so it's not even a real office.
Nope.
Oh, man.
Doesn't exactly scream legit business, does it?
It really doesn't. And they claim to have helped thousands of writers.
Oh, do they?
But there's no proof, no case studies, no testimonials, nothing.
You'd think if they were actually helping thousands of writers,
Right.
they'd be shouting it from the rooftops.
Exactly. And then there's this monthly fee,
What is it?
$28.88.
What?
I know.
Why $28.88?
That's so specific.
It's so strange.
It seems intentional. I don't know. What do you think about that?
It does. It seems very calculated, and, recurring charges like that
Yeah.
are like a scammer's best friend.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It makes it so much harder to get your money back.
Okay.
And it creates a steady stream of income for the scammer. So, yeah, when you see that coupled with everything else we've talked about,
Right.
huge red flag.
So at this point, I'm wondering, what are we actually dealing with here? Is this an intentional scam?
That's a good question.
Like, are these the same people that they're claiming to protect us from?
I mean, it's certainly possible. It
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprising at all.
Right.
These scammers, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're aware of the issues in the writing community.
Right.
They know how to use that to their advantage,
So they're exploiting us.
pretty much.
But is there another possibility? Could this just be someone who's, like, well-meaning but totally incompetent?
Yeah, it's possible.
Right.
Could just be some amateur.
Okay.
But, even incompetence can be predatory
Oh, yeah.
if it leads to people losing money, right?
It's true.
I mean, regardless of their intentions,
Right.
whether they're malicious or just inept,
Yeah.
the outcome is the same.
Yeah. Authors lose money.
Exactly.
And that's what matters. And you know what makes this whole thing even weirder?
Oh, there's more.
Oh, yeah.
What?
So remember how Writer Beware called them out in that blog post? Well, BookGuard decided to retaliate.
What? No way.
And they did it in the most incompetent way possible.
Oh, no, how?
They took the author of the blog post, the person who exposed them, and put her photo on their website.
Wait, what?
As the founder of BookGuard.
No way.
I'm not kidding.
They stole her photo.
They stole her picture, and they tried to pass her off as their own.
That is wild. The audacity. The incompetence.
It's like they're living in an alternate reality.
Right, like consequences don't exist.
But it backfired spectacularly.
I bet it did.
Because, you see, the author of this blog, she's like very well respected in the writing community.
Okay.
So when people saw her picture on their website, they knew something was up.
Right.
It was like a giant flashing neon sign.
Like scam.
Exactly. It was like they shot themselves in the foot.
I love it.
Tripped over their own shoelaces, fell face first into a puddle of their own making.
It's like they're writing their own satirical screenplay.
Right.
About a terrible scam.
It's amazing, but it's real life, unfortunately.
Yeah, this is real life.
And this is affecting real authors.
Right, and that's why it's so important to talk about this stuff.
Yes.
To expose these scams.
Yeah.
And to help authors protect themselves.
I couldn't agree more, so let's dig a little deeper and talk about what authors should actually be looking for.
Yeah, good idea.
What are the signs of a legit operation as opposed to something like BookGuard?
Okay, that's a great question.
Right. Because it seems like these scammers are getting better and better at mimicking legitimacy.
Oh, absolutely. But there are some key things to look out for.
Okay, like what?
Well, first and foremost, transparency is key. You should be able to easily find information about the company, about their staff, their track record, their pricing.
So basically, they should be upfront about everything.
Exactly.
No secrets?
No secrets.
Yeah.
And they should be able to explain clearly how their service actually works.
Got it.
And ideally, you should see some evidence of its effectiveness.
Right. Like, do they have testimonials from real authors?
Yeah.
Or case studies that show how they've helped other writers?
Exactly.
Okay. That makes sense.
Those are all good signs.
And I imagine a legitimate company would also be upfront about their pricing. Right?
Absolutely.
No hidden fees, no surprise charges.
Transparency is key.
It's like that old saying, if you have nothing to hide, you hide nothing.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
And remember, testimonials and case studies can be helpful.
Yeah.
But don't just take them at face value.
Right.
You know, look for specific details. Look for real experiences.
Okay.
And if something sounds too generic or too good to be true, it probably is.
That's good advice.
And don't just rely on the company's website.
Right.
Do your own research.
So what do you recommend? Just like a basic Google search?
Yeah, a Google search is a great starting point.
Okay.
See what other people are saying about the company. You know, look for reviews.
Yeah.
Look for complaints from other authors.
Okay.
And check and see if they're listed on Writer Beware or similar watchdog sites.
Right.
There are resources out there specifically dedicated to exposing these scams.
Good to know.
Yeah.
And this might seem obvious, but I think it's worth repeating.
What's that?
If it sounds too good to be true,
Yeah.
it probably is.
Right.
Like if they're promising you guaranteed success or complete protection from all scams, that's setting off alarm bells in my head.
I'm right there with you.
Right.
Yeah, writing is like any other creative field. It's full of uncertainties.
Of course.
There's no magic formula for success.
Right.
And anyone who tells you they have all the answers is probably trying to sell you something.
Which brings us back to BookGuard and their so-called comprehensive protection package.
Right.
It's like they're preying on this very real fear that a lot of authors have, the fear of being scammed.
Exactly.
And they're offering this false sense of security.
Right, which can be super dangerous.
It is dangerous.
It's like they're selling snake oil
Yeah.
to people who are already feeling vulnerable.
And that's what makes it so insidious.
Yeah.
Because authors are already targets for scammers.
Right.
And a service like BookGuard just adds another layer of complexity and potential harm.
Absolutely.
So I'm curious, for our listeners out there who might be feeling a little overwhelmed by all of this, what can they do to protect themselves?
That's a great question.
Right, because it seems like the landscape is changing constantly.
It is.
It's hard to know who to trust.
I know, but staying informed is crucial.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, websites like Writer Beware, the Alliance of Independent Authors, the Society of Authors, these are all fantastic resources.
Okay.
They keep track of the latest scams. They offer advice on best practices, and they provide a community where authors can support each other.
So connecting with other writers
Yes.
and industry professionals is really important.
Absolutely.
It's like having a network of trusted advisors
Exactly.
who can help you navigate all of this.
Yeah.
This whole conversation has made me realize that we need to be more proactive in our approach to this.
I agree.
It's not enough to just hope that we don't fall victim.
Right.
We need to be actively seeking out information, building our knowledge base,
Yes.
sharpening our critical thinking skills.
I love that, becoming digital detective.
Exactly.
To be.
Right.
Yeah.
We have to be constantly fact-checking and cross-referencing information.
Absolutely.
Just to make sure we're not being misled.
Right. It's like we need to retrain our brains to question everything.
Yeah, it's exhausting, but it seems necessary.
It is necessary.
So for our listeners out there, what are the biggest red flags that should set off alarm bells for them?
Okay, great question. So let's recap those warning signs, all right?
Okay.
So number one, if a promise sounds too good to be true,
Yeah.
like guaranteed success or complete protection from scams, that's a big red flag.
Okay.
Number two, a lack of transparency.
Okay.
If they're not upfront about how their service works or who's behind it,
Yeah.
that's suspicious.
Okay.
Number three, no verifiable track record
Uh-huh.
or testimonials from actual clients.
Okay.
That's a problem.
Got it.
Number four, suspicious addresses or contact information.
Okay.
That can't be easily verified.
So do your research.
Exactly. Number five, fake staff photos or bios.
Right. We talked about that.
Yeah. Always do a reverse image search
Good tip.
just to be sure. And finally, number six, pressure tactics or fear-mongering.
Yeah, like those "you're the next victim" emails.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a big
So if you see any of these red flags, take a step back, do your homework before you give them any money or any personal information.
That's great advice. And it's not just about protecting your finances. It's about protecting your creative energy, your passion for writing.
Yeah, because falling victim to a scam can be really demoralizing.
It can.
It can make you question everything.
Yeah.
You know, your whole journey as a writer.
It's like having your creative spirit punched in the gut.
Exactly. And nobody deserves that.
No, they don't.
The writing world is challenging enough.
It is.
As it is.
So let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
And talk about the bigger picture.
Right.
This book guard situation, as crazy as it is, it's just one example of a much larger problem.
Right.
With AI on the rise and scams becoming increasingly sophisticated.
Yeah.
What can writers and even readers do to protect themselves in the future?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, it goes beyond just the writing world. We're all dealing with this, right?
Yeah.
This constant flow of information and misinformation. And it's getting harder and harder to figure out what's real and what's fake.
It really is. It feels like we need to develop a whole new set of skills to navigate the digital age.
Like what?
Like we need to become digital detectives.
I love that.
Constantly fact-checking,
Yeah.
cross-referencing information just to make sure we're not being misled.
Absolutely. We need to cultivate that healthy skepticism.
Yeah, especially online.
Especially online, right?
Yeah.
Don't believe everything you read.
Right.
And be wary of anything that seems too good to be true. If something feels off, trust your gut.
It's usually, right?
It usually is.
Yeah, so we need to retrain our brains to question everything,
Yeah.
which is exhausting.
I know, but
and necessary.
it's so necessary.
So for our listeners out there who might be feeling a little overwhelmed by all of this, what's the one piece of advice you would give them to help them navigate this crazy world?
My one piece of advice.
Yeah.
Do your research.
Okay.
Arm yourself with knowledge.
All right.
Connect with reputable resources and communities. And most importantly, don't be afraid to ask questions.
That's good advice.
You know, there are a lot of people in the writing and publishing world who genuinely want to help authors succeed.
Yeah.
And they're more than happy to share their knowledge and experience.
Knowledge is power.
It really is.
And the more informed we are, the better equipped we'll be to navigate the challenges and avoid the pitfalls of this world.
Absolutely.
You know, if something feels wrong, just trust your instincts.
Oh, for sure.
You know, you're not being paranoid.
Right.
You're being smart.
Exactly. Sometimes our gut feelings are the best defense mechanism.
Well, this has been a wild ride.
It has been.
Who knew a deep dive into author scams could be so
entertaining?
Yeah, and terrifying.
Yeah, a little bit of both.
So to kind of sum it all up for our listeners, what are the key takeaways from this book guard thing? What should writers keep in mind?
I think the biggest takeaway is that knowledge is power, you know? The more you know about the publishing industry, the different scams that are out there, the red flags to watch for,
Yeah.
the better equipped you'll be to protect yourself.
So do your research, ask questions, and don't be afraid to say no.
Exactly. You're in control of your writing career.
Right.
You have the right to be selective about who you work with and what opportunities you pursue.
This whole conversation has got me thinking, with AI becoming more sophisticated, do you think it's just going to get harder to spot these scams?
That's a good question, and I think the answer is yes and no.
Okay, how so?
Well, on the one hand, AI is definitely going to make it easier for scammers to create even more convincing scams.
Right.
More personalized scams.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to be even more vigilant,
So our digital detective skills are going to have to be even sharper. But you said yes and no.
Right. So on the other hand, AI can also be a really powerful tool for fighting scams.
Really?
Yeah, so AI-powered tools, they can help us detect patterns, identify fake content,
Oh, wow.
even predict future scam trends.
So it's like an arms race.
It is. It's an arms race between the scammers and the people trying to stop them.
Yeah.
And AI is going to play a huge role on both sides.
So it sounds like we need to stay informed about how AI is being used.
Absolutely.
Both for good and for bad.
For good and for bad, yeah. We need to be aware of the risks and the benefits so we can make informed decisions.
So we need to approach AI with a critical eye.
Yes, understanding its limitations, understanding its potential biases,
Right.
but also recognizing its power to help us solve problems.
Right, including this problem of online scams. It seems like the key to navigating all of this is to embrace lifelong learning.
Oh, 100%.
We need to constantly be evolving our knowledge and skills to keep up with the pace of technology.
Yeah, the world is changing faster than ever.
It really is.
And the only way to stay ahead of the curve is to embrace that growth mindset.
So stay curious, stay skeptical, stay informed.
Absolutely.
So to wrap things up,
Okay.
any final thoughts for our listeners out there? Any words of wisdom?
Just remember that the writing community is full of amazing people who are passionate about helping each other succeed.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to reach out.
Right?
Connect with other writers, find mentors, build your network.
It's all about community.
It is. It's all about community. And remember, you're not alone in this.
And if something feels off,
Trust your gut.
always trust your gut.
You're not being paranoid.
Right.
You're just being cautious.
Exactly. It's better to be safe than sorry.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive.
Wow. That went by fast.
I know, right?
Time flies when you're having fun.
It does. It does. And we had a lot of fun
We did.
talking about all things book guard and author scams.
Yeah, it was a wild ride.
It was a wild ride. But hopefully our listeners learned a thing or two
I hope so.
about how to protect themselves.
Yeah, knowledge is power.
It is. So stay informed, stay vigilant, and keep those creative juices flowing.
Absolutely. And don't let the scammers win.
That's right. Don't let them win.
All right. Until next time.
Happy writing.
And happy reading.